Breakout star, Caitlin Clark's bodyguard.
And it literally pisses me off when people are like, she's not the face of the league.
Who would be?
What? When people try to argue that she's not the face of our league, you're dumb as shit.
Yeah.
You're literally dumb as fuck.
The way Caitlin Clark is being targeted is no longer just a theory, it's a
The WNBA as a whole was ignited by a single Instagram comment. Sophie Cunningham didn't hold back. Within hours, players, fans, and experts were picking sides in her harsh criticism of the league's top leader. The fallout is still spreading and might fundamentally change professional women's basketball. On September 30th, 2025, as the Indiana Fever were wrapping up their season, Cunningham was browsing Instagram on her phone when she came across something that enraged her. The Minnesota Lynx' standout player, Nafisa Collier, recently disclosed in a startling press conference that she had spoken with WNBA Commissioner Kathy Engelbert in private about player salary. Let's just say that Engelbert's alleged remarks regarding Caitlin Clark were unpopular with everyone who heard them. Collier entered the stage with a rehearsed musical statement. Her words were like a blade, but her voice was solid. She explained how, months before, she had asked Engelbert about the league's plans for rookie compensation, especially for stars like Clark, Paige Bueckers, and music angel Reese, who were clearly bringing huge sums of money into the WNBA. Engelbert's response was amazing, according to Collier. The commissioner claims that since Clark wouldn't be able to make any money without the platform the WNBA offers, she should be grateful for making $16 million off the court. But that wasn't even the worst part. During the same conversation, Engelbert allegedly told Collier that players should be on their knees thanking their lucky stars for the media rights deal she negotiated for them. The arrogance of their remarks made a clear impression. Clark was no longer the only focus of this. It was about all the players who had dedicated years to perfecting their skills. Leadership in the league claimed credit for their achievements. Keir's comments were more than just complaints. It was a deliberate attack on every weakness in the leadership of the WNBA. She called the league's management the worst in the world, despite having what she considered to be the best players and fans in the world. She explained how she had reached out to Engelbert during an unmatched music game in February in the hopes of getting sincere answers on player compensation. Instead, she got patronizing remarks that basically told celebrities to be thankful for scraps. According to numerous people who later confirmed that she had told teammates and other players about this conversation within days of it happening, Keir had been harboring this discontent for months. She made the deliberate choice to make her exit interview public. With collective bargaining negotiations intensifying and a deadline of October 31st approaching, Collier was applying maximum pressure to league leadership at the most agonizing moment. She wasn't just speaking for herself, either. As vice president of the WNBA Players Association, she was advocating for hundreds of women who had stayed silent for years as their sports popularity soared and their pay remained pitifully low. When Keir mentioned responsibility, she wasn't being abstract. She provided particular examples of bad calls made by referees that went unpunished and of league officials protecting inept refs while punishing players for speaking the truth. The moment wasn't hot. She had lost all faith in this premeditated, intentional breakdown of power. Unlike other WNBA players, Sophie Cunningham is unique. She was formed differently, as evidenced by her past. At 6 years old, she became the youngest person in Missouri to earn a black belt in Taekwondo. She brought the same repressed rage and self-control to basketball. But what truly sets her apart in music is her devotion. When Cunningham joined the frenzy earlier this year from the Phoenix Mercury, fans quickly saw she wasn't just another guard. She was Clark's enforcer and bodyguard, prepared to fight when officials failed to protect the league's biggest star. While shielding Clark from cheap shots and unethical behavior, Cunningham has been embroiled in numerous physical altercations this season. During a June game against the Connecticut Sun, things got out of hand. JCS Sheldon, a Connecticut player, chased Clark after a hard foul and knocked her to the ground. Cunningham became furious. On the very next play, she virtually threw Sheldon to the ground with a full bear hug tackle, starting a heated argument. Cunningham was swiftly removed from the league and fined $500. But after that ejection, something incredible happened. In a handful of hours, her jersey was sold out on every retail website. She acquired around 800,000 new social media followers in just 1 week. She quickly rose to fame as a folk hero. All top athletes wish they had a partner like this. She was referred to by fans as Clark's personal bodyguard, the enforcer, and the musician who truly stood by her when law enforcement failed to fulfill their obligations. Cunningham was fined numerous times during the season for criticizing authorities on social media, but she refused to back down. She would joke about starting a GoFundMe page to cover Clark's $200 fine for making fun of referees. She would publicly criticize league officials of not protecting their star. The penalties kept the music flowing. She didn't care. The song Cunningham posted on Instagram that Tuesday afternoon following Keir's press conference would eclipse everything and establish her as the most fearless voice in women's basketball. Before we address Cunningham's response, we must first determine the actual ridiculousness of Angelbert's alleged comments. The numbers not only contradict her assertion, but they completely debunk it. Clark signed a 4-year contract with the Fever Music for $338,000. Her first year's salary was $535 out of $76,000. On the other hand, Victor Wembanyama, the NBA draft's top music pick that year, signed a 4-year contract worth $55 million, earning nearly $12 million in his first season alone. But Angelbert seemed to have missed this. Clark was already a meest star before she ever set foot in a WNBA arena. In her final year at Iowa, she had previously signed a $28 million contract with Nike. She was making over $3 million from sponsorships even as an undergraduate. Her final collegiate game against South Carolina had 18 viewers, making it the most watched basketball game on ESPN since 2019, not women's basketball. 7 million individuals, reaching a peak of 24.1 million. It's all basketball. This includes every game in the NCAA men's tournament, every game in the NBA finals, and every other game. Clark did it without getting paid at all by the WNBA. Therefore, when Angelbert allegedly stated that Clark should be grateful to the WNBA for her platform, she was essentially taking credit for a phenomenon that existed entirely apart from the league. But the music either gets better or worse, depending on your perspective. When Clark joined the WNBA in 2024, she was not given a platform. She gave them a lifeline. Compared to the previous season, ESPN's music viewership rose by 170%. The Fever caused the average number of fans at home games to rise from 4,000 to over 17,000, forcing games to be moved to larger stadiums to accommodate demand. League attendance increased by 48% for all teams. Teams like the New York Liberty and Las Vegas Aces started moving their games against the Heat to NBA stadiums due to the excessive demand for tickets. Numerous networks and the WNBA signed a $2 deal. $2 billion media rights deal. Executives freely admitted that Clark's attention-grabbing skills were crucial to those conversations. Clark was included in the most well-known WNBA games ever recorded by 6 different broadcast networks. Over 2 billion people watched the league's videos on social media in a single season. Merchandise sales rose by 600%. According to a number of financial analysts, Clark's debut season generated more revenue for the WNBA than the 5 seasons prior combined. But because the WNBA gave her a platform, Clark ought to be grateful. Music. Actually, Clark saved a league that had been losing money for a number of years. Cunningham's comments on Instagram were delivered with such accuracy that they were like a knockout strike. She posted exactly what millions of fans were thinking under a post about Keir's press conference. "C is the only reason people are familiar with Kathy. Our league has never seen a more deluded leader than her." To make sure no one missed her message, she added another comment in all capitals. The commissioner reportedly told her to be grateful for the opportunity rather than express gratitude, which is deluded and tone-deaf. Furthermore, our commissioner should never be brought up in the first place. The internet exploded. Within minutes, fans uploaded screenshots of the comments on all social media platforms. Sports pundits analyzed the drama for entire parts. According to some, music was the most daring player protest against league authority in professional sports history. When other WNBA players started and sharing postings supporting both Cunningham and Collier, A tide of camaraderie built that league officials were hard to ignore. Music during the incident, Clark's new coach, Stephanie White, publicly described Keir as a strong lady, supporting everything that was stated. There were more devastating aspects to Cunningham's call-out than just the words themselves. It was the undeniable truth behind them. Nobody was familiar with Kathy Engelbert before to Clark. Although she was rarely seen by casual sports fans for 5 years, the commissioner became the first person in WNBA history to occupy that position in 2019. It wasn't until Clark Mania took control in 2024 that Angel Burt began to regularly make headlines. The headlines had become unflattering. They were documenting her alleged derogatory comments about the league's biggest star, her apparent lack of awareness of what was actually driving progress, and her denial that the players, not management, should have been responsible for the WNBA's success. Music was clearly truthful, so Cunningham's direct statement that people only knew Angel Burt because of Clark resonated. Cunningham and league officials have previously clashed. By no means. For the whole 2025 season, she has been accruing punishments such as merit badges. During the incident with the Connecticut Sun that made her a national celebrity, she publicly accused officials of failing to protect the league's top player. She claimed that officials had done nothing to halt the situation, which had been developing for months. She was fined once more. She didn't apologize. She began her podcast, Show Me Something, with her childhood friend West Wilson from Colin Coward's The Volume Network and Bravo Summerhouse. She had treated her critics even more harshly. In the first episode, she defended Clark Music against those who claimed she wasn't the league's face by using a lot of foul language. She is not the league's public face. What? With genuine fury in her voice, Cunningham spoke. When individuals act like way, it literally irritates me. There are several outstanding, well-known people in our league. I'm not making fun of them. There are a lot of badasses in our league. Yes, without a doubt. I don't mind at all. But if you try to argue that she isn't the face of our league or that we wouldn't be where we are without her, you're just as foolish as FC Key. When the video went viral and gained millions of views across several media, Cunningham was subject to additional fines from the league office. She essentially challenged authorities to pursue her further by making light of the penalties on social media, turning them into entertainment. Engelbert's podcast co-host compared Engelbert to other sports commissioners like Roger Goodell and Adam Silver, saying that successful leagues value and prioritize their stars. The NBA heavily promotes Steph Curry's music and LeBron James. Patrick Mahomes appears in every commercial and marketing campaign the NFL can oversee. But the WNBA commissioner allegedly encouraged the biggest star in league history to thank the league for the opportunity to play. What sort of backward, self-destructive leadership was that? Cunningham also revealed insider information from her time with the Phoenix Mercury, admitting that her old co-workers there had actually planned to mistreat Clark prior to her contracting the fever. I know that Phoenix talks about music in their locker room. We'll show her what the W really means. Cunningham Music claims that the disclosure confirmed many fans' fears. Veteran players who were jealous of Clark's success attacked her aggressively while the officials did nothing. Throughout it all, Cunningham continued to write, speak, and advocate for the notion that players ought to have been treated better by their league office. The fines kept piling up. Really, she didn't care. Her podcast became a must-listen for WNBA fans, with episode downloads matching some of the league's actual game viewership numbers. Because they like her authentic, unvarnished style, businesses like Ring Home Security and Arby's started to give her endorsement chances. Cunningham had inadvertently entered a media empire by just choosing to keep quiet when injustice was placed in front of her. The timing of this entire situation could not have been worse for Angel Burt, and that was most likely the whole point. The WNBA's collective bargaining agreement was set to expire on October 31st, just a few weeks after Keir's press conference. By all accounts, the league's players were far from coming to an agreement during their already contentious negotiations for a new deal. In light of the league's amazing expansion, the Players Association, led by President Nika Oamaka and Vice President Nafisa Collier, has been actively pushing for more compensation, better working conditions, and true revenue sharing. Prior to Collier's startling disclosure, negotiations were already tense. Sustainability has been used by league officials as a justification for their unwillingness to raise player salary. Even though they had signed a multi-billion-dollar TV deal and were making record money, players were growing increasingly agitated with what they perceived as dishonest negotiation methods. Then, just after Keir's press conference went ahead without a hitch, Cunningham attacked Angelbert's leadership on Instagram. Suddenly, every player in the league was rooting for them. In numerous social media posts, both current and former players voiced their displeasure with how the league treated them. A'ja Wilson, a four-time MVP for the Las Vegas Aces and one of the most well-known personalities in the game, expressed her contempt for Angelbert's alleged remarks and pledged to stand by Keir no matter what. Kelsey Plum, another Aces star and the first vice president of the Players Association, implied that league officials weren't negotiating in good faith when she remarked that the more recommendations players made, the worse the talks had actually gotten. Fans started calling for Angelbert to resign on all social media channels. Sports writers questioned her leadership and whether she was the appropriate person to guide the league during this crucial period of expansion in critical opinion pieces. Then an amazing